Hello, horror story lovers. I've prepared for you a bunch of real stories from the Reddit. Frightening and interesting if you believe their authors. This Reddit went out 12 years ago, and the stories were mostly written 12 years ago. Don't forget to subscribe and put a like if you like it. Let's get to the first story. Enjoy. True story time. I was about 4 or 5 years old and my parents had just separated. My mom was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own room, but I preferred to sleep in her bed whenever I was staying with her. Our 2 bedrooms were at the end of a hallway, directly across from each other. Our apartment was on the first floor, and I remember that it was in the middle of the summer, and my mom had a window open her room, which was directly behind the bed, above the headboard. Anyways, I woke up in the middle of the night and remember sitting up and seeing that our cat was sitting in the doorframe of my mom's room. Her door was open and you could partially see into my bedroom. This was strange because our cat was typically always in bed with us. As I was watching him, he walked into my bedroom and meowed. I turned to face my mom and wake her up. In the 3-4 seconds it took her to wake up and ask me what was wrong. We both looked back up in the doorframe, and there was a man standing by my open door, making his way out of my bedroom. I still don't know how she managed to do it so quickly, but my mother proceeded to pick me up and literally throw me out of the screen window. Again, we were on the first floor, and it was maybe a 3-foot drop to the ground. She quickly followed, and we were able to start screaming for help, and someone called 911. The police came but didn't see any signs of forced entry. Only that our front door was unlocked, which led them to believe the man must have exited that way. The strange thing was that my mom swore up and down that she had locked the door that night with the deadbolt and chain lock. About a week later, she was cleaning the kitchen and opened up our water heater closet and found a notebook with names and drawings, as well as a pair of gloves and some gum wrappers. The police were called again, but all they could do was speculate that the man had been in our house and hid until we were asleep. Edit. Just to clarify, our apartment was on the ground level, so my mother didn't hurl me into potential paralysis, just a 3-ish foot drop to grass. A terrifying but true story I experienced when I was 12. I moved to my dad's when I was 10 and didn't know anyone in the area, except for the family my dad was friends with. Single mom with 3 kids. Luckily, there was a girl a couple years older than me, 12 at the time I met her, and we got to know each other a little over a couple years. We weren't close, but ended up having the same friends. One night, my friend Rob was hanging out with her and her younger brother. They happened to be in the house alone because my friend's mom was at work, which is where this gets terrifying and sad. Her mother had been helping this one lady through her work and got to know her fairly well. She found out her sister had recently been released from a mental health facility. The night Rob is hanging out with my friend, they get a knock on the door. My friend thought it was just their mom. She knocks a certain way when coming in, and answered it without thinking. Rob wasn't supposed to be there, and he took off through the window to his house down the road. He never thought twice about it. Wasn't her mom. It was the sister of the woman her mom had been helping, and she had figured out through conversations with her sister where the family lived and their schedule. She came in, and this is the part I don't know all the details of, and honestly, I'm glad I don't. My friend's younger brother managed to escape to the neighbors and call the police. What happened next was beyond tragic. My friend lost her life just a week before Christmas, in a way too awful to fully describe. They had to search the house thoroughly to find everything. I wasn't allowed to go to her funeral. I have a few paranormal events that happened all throughout my life. Most of them were pretty mild, but there's one that stuck with me, and it still sends chills down my spine. About 4 years ago, I was finishing my freshman year of college. I lived in the dorms with a great roommate and had an amazing time overall. But toward the end of the semester, something just felt off. The atmosphere in our hallway changed. We were all still hanging out and being ourselves, but walking into the building gave me this heavy, uneasy feeling. We chalked it up to final stress, but it was more than that. One night, After a long study session, I decided to hit the showers before crashing for a few hours of sleep. Let me explain the layout of our dorm real quick. Each hall had 4 rooms, 2 people per room, plus 1 for the RA. At the end of the hallway was a heavy steel door, and directly across from it was the bathroom. The door to the bathroom was just as heavy and was kept open with a thick wooden wedge. Inside, there were 4 sinks, 2 on each side, facing each other with huge mirrors. Past the sinks were urinals, a toilet stall on the left, and 2 showers on the right. If you looked into the left side mirrors, you could see directly into the showers through the reflection. Anyway, I was alone in the bathroom. I dropped my clothes on the right sink so I could grab them after showering. I glanced up into the mirror, and that's when I saw it. Something was shimmering in the reflection of the shower stall. It looked distant at first, like it was tucked far back in the mirror's repeating image, but then it started shifting closer, layer by layer. I brushed it off as my brain being overworked from too much caffeine and no sleep, but it kept moving forward, faster each time. As it got closer, I could make out more details. A tall figure draped in something like a dark flowing veil. It wasn't hair, but something thin and shrouded. From the waist down, it looked solid black, and its face, I still can't describe it. It looked human, but so distorted, like it was something otherworldly. Its eyes were pitch black, but they were glowing. Not like normal eyes, but with an unnatural, eerie light that seemed to pierce through everything. I only saw it for a second, but I'll never forget it. It felt like its gaze was burning right through me. Suddenly, the lights cut out. The door slammed. The room was pitch black. I tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Then came the smell, like iron or something metallic like blood. But it was so thick. It felt suffocating. That's the last thing I remember. I woke up in the hospital. According to my RA, he was coming to use the bathroom and found me collapsed in the shower stall. I had a major nosebleed, and my shirt was soaked. When he tried talking to me, all I could say was it saw me, before I started panicking again. He called for help, and they took me to the hospital. I was so worked up, they had to sedate me. When I came to, my parents were there. The doctors said it might have been a seizure, but scans showed no signs of one. I've taken similar meds before and after, and nothing like this has ever happened again. No hallucinations, no side effects. To this day, I can't look into mirrors for long. Just being around one for too long makes me anxious. I've been in therapy ever since. I even talked to religious leaders, but no one really recognized what I saw. There were never any stories about that dorm before or after I left. Just this one single, terrifying incident. My mother-in-law was a very funny and wonderful woman. She and my wife were incredibly close, and sadly, she passed away when our son was about 4 months old. Fast forward a few years. We live in an old 1930s era craftsman house in Pasadena, California. Our son was about 3 at the time. One night, I was giving him a bath, and he started staring over my shoulder. Not at random things, but at something in particular. After a moment, he asked me why Grandma calls Mommy a funny name. I froze. I asked him what he meant, thinking he was talking about my mom. Then he said, "Why does Grandma call Mommy?" "Ray." It was my mother-in-law's nickname for my wife. I was stunned. My wife and I never used that nickname. It was something only her mom called her. I asked him where he heard that. His response, "The farmer told me." I asked him who the farmer was, and he said, "His friend." Later, I told my wife, and she was left in tears by it. We both knew there was no possible way he could know about that nickname. It was beyond strange. The next weekend, my son was playing in his room. My wife was at work, in retail, and I was at home. I worked Monday through Friday. I heard him talking, like he was having a conversation with someone. He kept saying things like, "Yes," "No," "I don't know that," and then some laughing. I went into his room and asked him what he was doing. He said, "Playing." I asked, "With who?" He replied, "The farmer." Now I'm starting to get really uneasy. I asked him, "Where is the farmer?" He said, "He left when you came in." That was enough to send chills down my spine. Later, when my wife came home, I told her everything, and now she was just as freaked out as I was. We didn't know what to do, so we agreed to wait and see if it happened again. A few days later, in the middle of the night, we both overheard our son saying, "Grandma says you and I can't be friends anymore." Both of us rushed to check on him, hearts pounding. He was sitting up in bed. I asked if he was okay, and he replied, "Yeah, Grandma says I can't play with the farmer anymore." After that, he never mentioned the farmer again. Not once. He's 13 now and has no memory of it. But we do. That's it for today, guys. If you like the story, don't forget to like and comment. Also subscribe to the channel to not miss new stories. Thanks for watching. It was Red Up.